I had to bring out the heavy artillery this morning. I'll tell you why. I went to pour my coffee in my wonderful Detroit Tiger 1968 World Series cup, and I left it here in the basement, which I normally don't do. And it's not like I live in the wilderness or something, but there was a dead cricket in there this morning. Ew. So, we have been dissecting the 1950s for a few weeks now. And the one thing for me that really, puts the 1950s in the spotlight, the one thing that makes it most identifiable is the music. What about you? You think so? It could be something else for you, but to me, it's the music. We have rock and roll with Elvis, Jerry Lee Lewis, Chuck Berry. We had pop music. That was with Tony Bennett, and Ella Fitzgerald, and Frank Sinatra, and others. Then we had the American classic, 1950s jazz with Charlie Parker, Dave Brubeck, Dinah Washington. Then something a little odd, 1950s lounge music. All right, that's enough. Wow. I guess it's good that we had 1950s baseball and the finest cards ever made of the finest players to have ever played.
Those 10 years let us twist, there they let us cruise. We found our rhythm in blue suede shoes, leather jackets and slick back hair. You really had to be there or be square. We got lost in the 50s when everything was nifty and a dime could buy 2 packs of cards. We had our favorite team. It was a golden decade, it seemed. 10 years still fresh in my mind.
This year, 1956, more Americans were seeing the struggles of African Americans, although there was still plenty of heartbreak ahead. Now, something else occurred during 1956, but most people didn't see it as significant at the time. IBM created the first computer hard drive. And you see that guy pointing at that tube that's right in front of him? That's not really a tube. It's 50 platters stacked up, and those platters are disks, and on those disks was stored information, and that is the equivalent of 5 megabytes. 5 megabytes. Now take this into consideration. If you've got one of these, an 8 gig flash drive, you've got 1,638 times the amount of storage on this little thing than on that set of platters, 50 platters, and the first IBM hard drive. Incredible to think about it that way, isn't it? Another thing that happened in 1956, somebody took center stage and never gave it up until his dying day, and that was Elvis. His hit Heartbreak Hotel reached number 1 on the charts and got him center stage on the Ed Sullivan Show. And, well, as they say, the rest is history. Rock and roll history. And here's some big news if you're a big-time baseball lover as I am. For 2 years now, you didn't see Mickey Mantle. He didn't have a card in the top sets. He was absent from 1954 to 1955. But I'll tell you this, Topps lucked out by winning the Mickey Mantle lottery and signing him to a contract through Topps in 1956 because Mantle won the Triple Crown, a batting average of .353, 188 hits, 52 homers, 130 RBIs, 132 runs, and he won his first MVP, and he won the World Series. That, my friend, is a statistic. That's like the kids say today. Those are video game numbers. And in this 1956 World Series, there was another historical event that occurred. It was when Don Larson threw a perfect game, the only one ever thrown in a World Series game. And the Yanks went on to beat the Dodgers 4-3 games. Of course, the Dodgers ended up moving after that out to L.A. in 1957. Don Newcombe of the Brooklyn Dodgers won both National League MVP and the inaugural Cy Young Award. Frank Robinson of the Cincinnati Reds and Louis Aparicio of the White Sox were named the Rookies of the Year for the American and National Leagues. Now, the new 1956 Topps cards were released. They were 342 cards deep. That's a pretty good size set. The cards measured 2 5/8 by 3 3/4 inches, and that's still a large size for us as we know it today. They didn't go to that standard size until the very next year, which was 1957. The set included a powerful roster, and I mean powerful, set of players nearing the end of their careers. A lot of them were rookies in the 40s, and that included Bob Feller, Phil Rizzuto, and Jackie Robinson, as well as a host of future Hall of Famers in their early careers like Don Drysdale and Sandy Koufax and Frank Robinson. Now, the size and horizontal design provided the perfect setting for those quintessential player portraits and memorable action shots, as the backdrop. Cards also featured signatures with nicknames like Pee Wee Reese. You'll see that right on the card, and Whitey Ford and Duke Snider. They were highlighted whenever possible. Now, the set included, 2 dull but helpful checklist cards. Your key rookie that year was Louis Aparicio. The 1956 card backs were printed in both gray and white, and for cards number 1 through 100, the gray variety is considered slightly rarer, while the numbers 101 through 180, the white backs, were marginally more highly valued. The persistence of printing errors made off-center cards relatively common, and the larger size of the cards made them susceptible to edge wear. And here's the reason why. We always did rubber bands back in the early and late 60s and into the 70s. That's how we kept them together. And the rubber band abuse was bad. Mint and near mint cards, you're not going to find a lot of those. Many team cards have multiple variations, and this is just one of those things that it's just overwhelming to me. I've never paid attention to them. Some of the team names are on the front or printed center. Some are go to the left, and with or without 1 year. It's exhausting to follow it, so I never did. Now, here's the backs. Everybody loves the cartoon stories. I used to spend a lot of time reading those. Even though I wasn't born then, I collected these cards in the 70s and just loved the cartoons. And in this 1956 set, there were no subsets, no leaders, no inserts, and there were team cards, like I said before, and those checklists. And the league presidents finally got on baseball cards. Let's take a look at some of the cards I have here. I do love these cards. And I got to tell you, I don't have a full set, but when I decided to start doing this video series, I went to my 56 set because I wanted to include them. And it's really good that we finally got Topps back in the center stage here, because we'd gotten away from it with Bowman and all those regional sets that we really kind of just fleshing out the 1950s. So we're back into the top sets, and that's a good place to be. So I looked at these cards, and I was so much closer to a set than I thought. And I just want to show you just a few. Not a like geez, Mikey says. We got a little short stack here. We'll go over these, and we'll see what you think. All right. Here's the first card. Don Mossy. One of the reasons I included him is I've seen this guy in a suit, dressed up to the nines. He's a handsome fella. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, Hobie Landreth. I love this card because that picture of him off to the side there, ready to catch a pop-up behind the plate. How they must have filmed that, or shot that. If somebody stood in the stands and he was down below and they snapped the picture. That had to be a real well-orchestrated photograph session there, don't you think? It's a great-looking card. Hobie Landreth. This is Alex Grammis. Look at him. He's going into the hole. Right there, it's short. You know, I'm sure he caught the ball, but I'm wondering if he made that throw across the field. I just love that card. Alex Grammis. One-time coach for the Tigers. Okay. This card I wanted to include because the catcher, to me, and I might be wrong, looks like Roy Campanella. And there he is. Wally Moon sliding across home plate. I wonder if he was safe. I also included it because of that legendary, that magnificent, that beautiful unibrow. Look at that. It looks like a seagull shadow up there on his forehead. It looks like his forehead has a mustache. Yeah, it's amazing to me. Okay, this next little set of cards I want to show you has a theme. Let me just get them separated here. I love cards that show the ball players in the field making great catches or appearing to make great catches at the fence, at the wall, off the foul line, and there are quite a few of them in this set. This is Jim Rivera. Look at that. And look at the people in the stands. There's a guy there with a suit, cigarette sticking out of his mouth. Another guy in a suit and a hat looks like he's going to try and catch the ball. And they just got to the ball games in all their finery and just never know that if somebody's going to just step right up in front of you and catch the ball on the field and make your way onto, and somebody takes a picture and snaps it and you end up being on a baseball card. Here's another one. Bill Verdon. And this one I really think is cool. Jim Greengrass, he's back to the wall. I can't tell if he's collided with the wall and not catching the ball, or if he made the catch and he's just bracing himself against the wall so he, can turn around and toss it in. That's a great picture. This next one is a history lesson. And either I'm going to give it to you or you're going to give it to me. This is Rocky Bridges. And he is diving back to a base, or he's doing a head-first slide. Now, I've often felt that the head-first slide originated with Pete Rose. It's the only place I ever saw it when I was growing up. I never saw it. And then shortly after Rose started doing it all the time, everybody started doing it. And there's people that would head-first slide into first base, like Chet Lemon, which was totally unnecessary. But maybe that trend started in the 50s. I don't know. You tell me what you think, and I'd love to know what you know. All right, Kurt Simmons. This is just a powerful looking card. Just him following through on the mound, tossing it out there. I just think that's amazing. That's an amazing card, and I love it. This is Lou Berberet, Washington catcher. This one made me laugh as a kid. Maybe it will you too. It looks like Lou and the umpire are doing the hokey pokey. It looks funny to me. Here's another card that as a kid I kind of wondered at. This is Charlie Neal. Sliding in, swiping a base. Whoever the baseman is behind him, I can't tell if it's a third baseman or a shortstop or a second baseman, but he looks like he swiped at him, but he missed him. Now, the one thing that makes me, I'm not going to say laugh, but endears me to this card, and to almost all of Charlie Neal's cards, if you had some of those tall G.I. Joe dolls back in the, action figures. If you had one of those back in the 60s and maybe the 50s. I'm not sure exactly when they started making them. And they had the hard head instead of the lifelike hair, and they had all the joints that were movable. They all had a scar on their face, just like that. If you've got a G.I. Joe, you go look at it. Yeah, there's going to be a scar on his face, or just look it up online. It's a Charlie Neal scar. I used to think maybe Charlie Neal and G.I. Joe got into it. It was a knife fight. Okay, here's Ron Jackson. Ron Jackson, good ball player, quite a few years, I guess. Was from Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is the next city over from my hometown of Battle Creek. And he set up an insurance company that is still running to this day. And it's a well-known insurance agency there in Kalamazoo. That's it. I just like the card because of that. Excuse me. Now, being a homer, like wanting to say something there about Ron Jackson, do the same thing with Bob Rush. Bob Rush was born in Battle Creek, my hometown, which is actually just a city over from where I live now. Now, Bob Rush was known for a few things. There's some boring stuff, but the one thing I always felt was important because it still affects the game today. Bob, I think it was 1957 at Wrigley Field. He was at Wrigley Field. He was out in the bullpen warming up during a game, I think, and he was throwing around, and he let one go too high, and it went up into the stands while he was in the bullpen and plunked a fan. Hit him good, injured him, went to the hospital. And what happened was the fan later tried to sue Bob and tried to sue the Cubs and I guess Major League Baseball. And it was all, tied up in court there. But as it turned out, they pretty much said, and the court kicked it back and said, you've got some responsibility when you come to the game. Keep your head up. Keep your head on a swivel. You never know if the ball's going to come up and hit you. So he was instrumental in, making that rule a law, because now you can see it when you walk in. They tell you to keep your eyes peeled. Okay, here's a great ball player. It's Richie Ashburn. I always see Richie as a Philly. I know he was a Cub. Was he a Met too? I don't remember. See, I don't care. I only like him as a Philly. He was a powerful, powerful ball player for a long time for the Phillies. Hank Bauer, New York favorite. Take out these 56s are just beautiful cards. I don't necessarily like the landscape part of it. Only because if you need to put them in a binder, you got to look at them sideways. Because that's how they were. At least that's the way they came back in the day. They were kind of in a sideways. I'm sure they probably have changed that. I should look into that. Elston Howard, another Yankee great. Here's Carl Erskine. Brooklyn Dodgers. Went to the World Series that year, he did. If you're talking about Richie Ashburn being a Phillies favorite, he's right up there neck and neck with this guy. Robin Roberts. Here's Larry Doby. I have noticed a lot of YouTubers that collect team cards and player cards and that sort of thing love Larry Doby. There is a huge, huge subset of collectors that put him right on their list. He is one of the most collectible players that I've seen in a while. Everybody seems to really want his cards. And that's okay, because there's not a whole lot of them, but the ones that are out there are beautiful. Like the 52, that's the best one. Here's Whitey Ford, Yankee great. I'd mentioned earlier that they printed the nicknames of these ball players on there too. Whitey Ford, they're in little quotation marks. It's Mr. Cub. Here's a card that I really like. It's not a Tiger. I don't hold that against him. But I just like the way the card looks. It's kind of fresh. You don't see a lot of these star cards from Cleveland. And this is Bob Lemon. You just don't see a whole lot of the star cards from Cleveland just standing out. There's something special about it. This one to me is special. Here's Minnie Minoso. Nellie Fox, Defying Gravity. Here is Don Newcomb, your NL MVP and Cy Young Award winner. This was the year they started awarding the Cy Young Award. All right, here's the card that, of course, is the priciest one in the entire set. You're not going to be able to see it from this video, but the front of this card is just wrinkly and just not a good card at all. And the corners are rounded, and the back was glued in. It was glued in a scrapbook or something. I was going to throw this thing away back in the 80s because it was just not worth keeping, but I kept it. Now stuff like this does have value. Some people would probably pay, I don't know, $25, $30, $40 for this thing. I'm glad I kept it because I certainly can't afford a new one to put in the set. When I say new, I'm thinking a very good one. Here's Bob Feller. This thing that it's being held in is actually how I bought it, and I've never taken it out of here. I got to do that because I can see it moves around in there. It sticks out between the cracks up here. It's going to get damaged, and I don't want that to happen. Here is Eddie Matthews. And my final card is Pee Wee Reese. Again, up there in quotation marks, Pee Wee. And that's 1956 Topps for you. I appreciate you tuning me in, and I really like it if you're watching this entire series that I'm putting out here. I really enjoy doing it. And these 56 cards, getting back into the Topps cards again, it made me happy. Not that I had any problem with the cards prior, because I do enjoy regional cards, and I've got a massive collection. When I say massive, I'm thinking 60, maybe 40 to 60 sets of regional cards, going all the way back to the 40s, up to and up through, I don't know, the middle 80s into the early 90s. I like them because they're different. Not everybody has them. Not everybody's ever seen them because they're regional. And they often show maybe a different point of view, a different side of the cards. I mean, you get used to seeing what Topps manufactures, and that's what you associate with, that year of card. But when something comes out and they're posing with a mascot, or they're posing near the flag, or they're posing with some other way, or they're all being taken pictures of on near a scoreboard that has the team logo on it, I think that's interesting. So I enjoy collecting the regional stuff. All right, that's it. We're going to, what are we going to do the next time around? I think we're going to do spick and span cards, get right back into the regional thing. 1957 spick and span cards. are the next cards we're going to tackle in the Time for Cardboard Heroes series that I'm doing. Hey, can you go ahead and subscribe? Man, I'd appreciate that. Give me a like if you thought this was interesting. And hey, if you can, comment. I'd love to hear what you're thinking. Talk soon.
Cardboard meditation helps set your mind right. Thank you for watching. Show us your appreciation by clicking the like and subscribe button. Ring the bell while you're at it so you'll know when we upload a new story.